It's better to burn out than to fade away.
Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community, welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you're seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Today will be a overview of the Sony Master Series 48-inch A9S, which we got yesterday in for early review. This display has just been released. Special thank you to Robert and Wendy Zahn of Value Electronics. Please consider making your next AV purchase through them. Check the website below or visit them at their Scarsdale location. Thank you again to Robert and Wendy for lending me the Sony A9S. This is not the Sony A9S, this is the Sony 900E. The A9S is upstairs. Unfortunately, with everybody being home, both children and wife and everybody working from home, I have to film these videos and then do the narration after. So I will film upstairs and you'll hear me talk over the image. And what I want to show you today is just the design. I did the unboxing and the setup yesterday, but it was getting a little bit dark and it didn't really show how gorgeous that Master Series OLED is. Its design, its pedestal, how low it sits, how simple it is to put together, but just how gorgeous the overall display is. When discussing OLEDs, it's always dicey on YouTube. A lot of the same comments are echoed, namely burn-in, which is still a thing, reflection handling, and black crush. We will address all of those with our journey in the A9S. The advantage to having someone like Value Electronics kind of as a partner and a friendship is the display isn't going anywhere. I will have it for quite a while. I still have the Sony 950H. I've had it for 6 months, and we'll be able to compare them to the LG CX, to the TCL R635, to the Sony X950H, and even to the Sony 900E, which is actually being replaced in a few weeks with a new panel that is for me. So upstairs, what we're talking about mostly is design, but one of the biggest critical responses to OLEDs, or at least comments, is its reflection handling and that it's not bright enough for a bright room, that they're dim. When you power on an OLED the very first time, if you've ever had one in your home, not just in YouTube, you're typically pretty blown away by how bright they are, or at least the perceived brightness due to its contrast ratio. I'm always shocked whenever I turn on the LG, any of the Sonys that I keep track of, whether it's at Value Electronics or at clients and friends' homes, which I also check for burn-in. You can see those videos on the channel as well. I do pretty much 3 to 6 month checks. They're coming up on 2 years. None of them have burn-in. I think it can be avoided, but I digress. Going back to reflection handling, the C10 in my reflection handling test, it did show a lot of reflections, but think in the room that it was in, it was extremely, extremely bright. Windows everywhere. The Sony 950H performed better. It is an LED that's over 1,000 nits. Of course, it performed better, but it is still something that you can watch. Is it optimal? I'm not sure if that's optimal. It'll be up to you. It's not like the Samsung where it just swallows reflections, but we will see that upstairs. And I will show you it again in a bright room. We will show a demo in a bright room, and we will also show the build quality, the design, and the Master Series cable management, which is actually pretty great, putting the covers back over it. We'll do that video upstairs. But again, special thank you to Value Electronics. The A9S so far is awesome. It looks great. I want to show you quickly the different remotes. This is the A9S remote. Here is the 950H remote, at least for the 49-inch version. I believe the larger versions might have a gray or a silver metal brushed as well. And comparing that to, say, the LG's remote here, just very different. I love seeing different manufacturers' thought process, and then the simplicity of the Roku TCL remote, and even the older 900E remote, which is shorter and thicker, more premium. Obviously, this is a 2017. The A9S Master Series, how does it differ from the A8H? How does it differ from other OLEDs? It is a Master Series. For me, Master Series is more design-based. The S simply stands for small. I wish I had a better description for it in an engineering way. It just stands for small, from what I understand. But we'll get more into it as the videos go on. And to keep it simple, not just the market speak of pixel boost and all these different things, we'll just compare it to the LG, compare it to the TCL R635 and its own sibling, which is the Sony A950H. We will do a bright room performance between the 950H and the A9S and see how it does. I think we'll have some very interesting comparisons. Sorry for the long intro. Let's go now upstairs and check out the display, how it does in a bright room, and also show you its body and its design and cable management. All right, guys, here we are recording a little bit later tonight. You'll see my kids running around and dogs running around, which is why I'm doing this later. The design is very flush. Here's a picture to show you how close it is to the base of the table. It's about 1/8 of an inch. Very nice solid steel brush design, but again, there's how close it is. That's just a sticker. I love the design as far as how stable it looks and appears. It looks like it's kind of just coming out of the table. The challenge is moving it around, as you really can't get your fingers underneath it. You'll have to lift it from the back, which is always dicey with OLEDs. There's a reflection. It does have that purplish color that LG OLEDs have as well. Is not seen during content, but to show you how close it is to the table. There's how thin the panel is, but unlike other OLEDs, it's smaller, the body is rather thick. That's the LG CX in comparison. And LG tends to have the innards, the bottom of the panel, they're a little bulky. There's the Bravia symbol, but it's a little bit bulky for an OLED. It's thin around, but the back is rather thick. Now showing you the back of it, and see again, there's the VESA mount, where to screw in your wall mounts if you want to hang it. There's the back of the Sony A950H. Now the Master Series tend to have a very premium feel to them. There's the antenna, the optical, where you put your Ethernet, HDMI cables, ARC, excuse me, the USB port. But showing you the 950H is because the less premium or not Master Series has a smoother look to the back, and the Master Series tend to have a more granular, more premium look to them. Where you have these, the cable can be detached. The plug is on the left-hand side. The HDMIs are on the right-hand side, showing you how the power cable can go around. And you have the one HDMI on the side. You see all the cable different management options. They are pretty wide as far as where to put the cables. I'll show you again, clumsily how they go on, and then I'll show you how it is completed. Cables all run through, but the 940E had this, the Z9D, the other Master Series tend to have this very premium, but kind of beefy in comparison to, say, the 950H or 950G or the 900E versus the 940E, which had that. But it's a nice look overall when they're all on there. Cable management is very nice. We'll run some demos in a bright room. These are from the HDR channel. I'm sitting on the couch. Now in this particular room, you have two windows behind me, showing you those. They are open, a door, windows to the right in the dining room, as well as the ambient light for the rest of the room. You can see my plasma on the wall. See my kid just randomly dancing in. The plasma, you can see, has a lot of reflections too. It's a Panasonic. Now, the reflections are going to look pretty harsh, simply because, again, of how bright the room is. It does have a lot of reflections when the display is also off. That actually bothers some people, as my kid's waving to you. That bothers some people to have their display off. I've also never noticed how sweaty this DJ is in this demo. I've seen it a million times. My kid is crawling after my dog. But you can see that unless it's a darker screen, you tend not to see the windows as much. The windows, again, are open as my kit exits. Again, this demo is from the HDR channel. Many of you have seen it many times. You can actually see the reflections there. Specular highlights are fantastic. This is an HDR. Off-angle viewing is incredible. That chair, unfortunately, has all the clutter from the table on it. But being off-angle it's unreal with OLEDs. And even though you have the larger back, you can see how streamlined the OLED looks from the front. Even though it's a little bit beefier, it could be, to have it have a better base so it doesn't fall back. Maybe it'd be too flimsy if it was too thin. This is the chest demo. Many of you have seen this demo before. Again, when it's running dark on the panel, you can see the reflections more. There's the Panasonic. And there's the door. You can see me clearly. Now, again, this is the brightest comparison you're going to see in terms of how bright the room actually is. The image is gorgeous. Is it watchable for a bright room? For many of you, it may not be. For me, it's absolutely fine. I did watch movies after this. Gemini Man looked incredible. But we are here to show you its real-world reflection handling. We're also going to run through some of the settings. Now, while this is filmed in HDR, it's not presented in HDR as I am editing this. You'll see pure HDR when there's no editing involved. We go over to our favorite LG Global. And we're going through some of the settings here. It's the picture settings. It is out of the box. You see it is in HDR. This is standard mode. And it has a lot of the same settings that we've seen from Sony in the last few years. Those of you that have a 900E and that generation, you're going to see that a lot of the settings from Sony are scaled down, probably due to redundancy. There's different motion settings now are primarily, you control them in custom more than having smooth and true cinema, things of that nature. Reality creation is there. Now, they ship in standard. Standard does tend to have dynamic contrast enabled and noise reduction, things of that nature. But I will say the motion out of the box had a little bit of soap opera effect, but it was very smooth. What I really like about Sony is it's how natural the image is out of the box. There are your color settings there. How lifelike their image is. But it's all about what you like personally. But you can't beat them for the realistic image, their natural image. I go through the settings again. They're just top of their game as far as natural, accurate colors. Even when I work hard to make them inaccurate, as you'll see here with live color and some of the other settings as I get into custom. I like live color enabled when HDR is in play. But it's always interesting to see other manufacturers, especially with the OLEDs. You see I go into the live color here a little bit, mess around. Black adjust, I tend to enable that with LEDs. All depends on the content. There's peak luminance. We'll do settings videos on this display as well as the TCL, the LG CX. We have a lot of displays in-house now. But the image quality, again, out of the box is phenomenal. It is Sony through and through. There's the live color. And even watching it in a movie, what I like about the Sony OLEDs is you can definitely see where if you had these displays, you would just out of the box enjoy it. Movies, you don't have to really change it a whole lot. We'll do Dolby Vision settings for bright and dark. Dolby Vision does look very good on it, Netflix. And just changing this to custom, enabling live color to medium, and then having this demo run, it looks really nice. You'll see some game performances, but you will see that here when we get dark, the reflections are more evident. But watching football, anything that's kind of full screen, you're not going to notice a lot of it. But even though the reflections are there, I would never look at the panel and say that it is dull or dim. Looks very similar to the Sony A9G, which is also absolutely gorgeous. Screen uniformity seems to be right on. So far, very impressed with it. You'll see it in gaming, you'll see it in movies, you'll see it against the LG CX, Sony 950H, TCL R635. You'll see that against, all the competition that I have here, and I'm sure it will do very well. And I'm anxious to see how it looks in game mode, because Sony is typically amazing out of the box in game mode. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye here. Thank you, as always. This is the second setup and aesthetic overview. Everything else from here on with the display will probably be comparison based unless we're doing settings videos. Thank you, as always. I will see you in the comments. Take care.